All right, hello. Another night at a Ron McDonald house. Today is the third week of Great Lent. Wednesday, Isaiah 10, 12 through 20, Genesis 7, 6 through 9, Proverbs 9, 12 through 18. Isaiah chapter 10, verse 12. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Lord has performed all his work on Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, that he will say, I will punish the fruit of the arrogant heart of the king of Assyria, and the glory of his haughty looks. For he says, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent. Also I have removed the boundaries of the people, and have robbed their treasuries. So I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. My hand has found like a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathers eggs that are left, I have gathered all the earth. And there was no one who moved his wing, nor opened his mouth with even a peep. Shall the axe boast itself against him who chops with it? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him who saws with it? As if a rod could wield itself against those who lift it up, or as if a staff could lift up, as if it were not wood. Therefore the Lord of hosts, will send leanness among his fat ones, and under his glory he will kindle a burning like the burning of a fire. So the light of Israel will be for fire, and his Holy One for a flame. It will burn and devour his thorns and his briars in one day, and it will consume the glory of his forest and his fruitful field, both soul and body, and they will be as when a sick man wastes away, when the rest of the trees of his forest will be so few in number that a child may write them. And it shall come to pass that in that day that the remnant of Israel, and as such as have escaped of the house of Jacob, will never again depend on him who defeated them, but will depend on the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. And this has happened repeatedly over and over in history, and it looks like it's happening again today. The economy cannot continue to go as it is. We're being milked dry. It will not turn out well. The remnant of Israel will depend on the Lord. For though your people Israel be as sands of the sea, yet a remnant of them will return. Isaiah 10:22. Except the Lord of hosts had left us a very small remnant, we'd have been as Sodom. Isaiah 1:9. Even so, then at this present time there is a remnant according to the election of grace. Romans 11:5. See also readings for Thursday following edition. In the history of Israel, a remnant may be discerned, a spiritual Israel within the national Israel. Noah and his family constitute a remnant. In Elijah's time, 7,000 had not bowed the knee to Baal. 1 Kings 19:18. In Isaiah's time, it was the very small remnant for whose sake God forbore to destroy the nation. During the captivity, the remnant appears in Jews like Ezekiel, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Esther, and Mordecai. At the end of the 70 years of Babylonian captivity, it was the remnant which returned under Ezra and Nehemiah. At the advent of our Lord, John the Baptist, Simeon, and Anna, and those who looked for redemption in Jerusalem, Luke 2:38, were the remnant. During the church age, the remnant is composed of believing Jews, Romans 11:4-5. But the chief interest in the remnant is prophetic. During the Great Tribulation, a remnant out of all Israel will turn to Jesus as the Messiah, Revelation 7:3-8. Some of these will undergo martyrdom, Revelations 6:9-11. And some will be spared to enter the millennial kingdom. Zechariah 12:6-13-9. C.I. Schofield, D.D. Notes on Romans 11:5, book number 5. That's a non-orthodox book. Genesis chapter 7, book verse 6-9. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was on the earth. So Noah with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of clean beasts, of beasts that are unclean, of birds, and of everything that creeps on the earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark to Noah, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. Noah, with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, went into the ark. And to show that he will appear unexpectedly, and with no man knowing it, and the end of the world come, he says that the end shall be as it was in the days of Noah and Lot. For they were eating, he says, and drinking, and were taking wives, and being made the wives of men. They were selling and buying and building, but the coming of the waters destroyed the one, while the others were the prey and food of brimstone and fire. Luke 17:26-30. What therefore is signified by this? That he requires us to be always watchful, and ready to make our defense before the tribunal of God. For as Paul says, 2 Corinthians 5:10, we are about to be revealed before the judgment seat of Christ, that every man may receive a retribution for the things that are by the body, according to what he has done, whether good or bad. St. Cyril of Alexandria. Commentary on the Gospel of St. Luke, Homily 117, Book 42, page 469. We Christians should watch with our heart, even when our eyes are closed in sleep. As the Song of Songs says of the Church, I sleep, but my heart is awake. Therefore the Apostle warns us earnestly and wisely, persevere in prayer and be watchful in it, meaning that when God sees we are attentive at prayer, we can obtain what we ask of him. St. Cyprian of Carthage, The Lord's Prayer 31, Book 41, page 95. I did not know that these were the Bible verses for today. That's interesting. Proverbs 9:12. If you are wise for yourself, and if you scoff, you alone will bear it. A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knows nothing. For she sits at the door of her house on a seat by the highest places of the city, to call to those who pass by, who go straight on their way. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. As for him who lacks understanding, she says to him, stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he does not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of hell. A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knows nothing. Nothing is more ruinous than talkativeness, and more harmful than an uncontrolled tongue, and nothing is more destructive and disorganizing to the treasure of the soul. For whatever we succeed in building in ourselves every day is destroyed by much talking, and what we collect together with great labor our soul dissipates again through this disease of the tongue. St. Philotheus of Sinai, 40 Texts on Sobriety, text number 15, Philokalia, book 23, page 325. And that is why I don't really want to be, that's another reason anyway, why I don't really want to be doing these videos. Because, I struggle with that. I want to help people. I want to glorify God. I want to serve God, share what people are ignoring. People are so distracted by the fantasy of television and internet and video games and the latest drama that they are completely ignoring and neglecting the reality of history and the scriptures and the teachings of the saints and all the parallels throughout history of these very same circumstances or very similar circumstances in parallel. Not to mention all the fulfillment of the prophecies that are coming true on a regular basis. So, God spared my life many times, and my son's life most recently. So, I want to try to do the right thing. I make mistakes regularly, but I want to try to do the right thing. So I am sharing this information, but as you can see, I don't really want to do this for a long time. I just want to draw attention to this so that my children, grandchildren, anybody who cares knows that they need to look. They need to take a step back, think about the people who are popular in the news media and all the information that they're sharing, starting with social media. Think about the content of what they're putting out. Think about their background How much knowledge and information how much effort have they really put out into reading books and to knowing history, to know what they're talking about? How much life experience have they had? Are they really qualified? And none of us know everything, self included. And I'm not qualified to speak on everything, especially, these things. I'm not ordained by the church to speak these things. I was given a blessing to do these videos. As long as I pray for God to help me to make them edifying and to glorify His name, not for myself, I'm allowed to do these. But I question whether or not people really think about and attempt to discern the quality of the information they feed in their brains. And I deal with this regularly with my own family, my wife and children and stepchildren and their friends and other people. And I struggle with it myself because I get bored. People are so used to watching to entertain themselves, and they're so convinced from conditioning since childhood that there's nothing wrong with this entertainment stuff. We're bored. It's part of life. What harm is in it? Well, the harm is this. This is what I'm talking about. We see it all around us. People are completely ignoring reality, and they're sucked into this black hole of fantasy land. And they don't know history. They don't know science. They're listening to people who are not qualified to be authorities. We have people, they're electing people into authority positions who are not qualified to be authorities. And it's creating a really, 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 really dangerous situation, which, if it continues to follow this trajectory, will very easily fulfill the prophecies of the book of Revelations. And we see a lot of that, the dominoes getting set up as we speak. So, I just went to the store, a local store here, and they have a scanner for your hand. So instead of paying with your debit card or your credit card or cash or a check, which most places don't even accept checks anymore, you can volunteer to get that whole hand swiping thing with the chip. I don't know, but people just ignore history. They ignore it. That's the only explanation I can come up with. So the whole not being able to buy and sell, we see people. I just listened to a video of one of the doctors that was on the task force team for the COVID situation with Dr. Fauci, and was asked to be an advisor. He didn't agree with anything that they were doing. He presented studies and the actual studies, actual scientific data on everything that was going on from the scientists that were actually doing the studies. He was not debated. He was not, he's not dismissed. He was simply ignored. They acknowledged what he said, and they thanked him, and then they did what they wanted to do. They wouldn't let him bring in the experts who were actually doing the research. They didn't offer any other research or contradict him with actual science. They showed some charts. You can doctor science to say what you want it to say, and that's basically what they were doing. Based on this interview, based on the guy who was there firsthand. He gave Trump a pass and said that it didn't seem like Trump was a part of it, but the people who were the bureaucrats, the deep states, quote unquote, he didn't say that, but that's basically what he was saying. Those folks who are unelected, but outlast all the people who are elected and stay there doing that job, were the ones calling the shots. And it wasn't based on science. So that's what it was. That's what I just heard. That's what I just saw. Stanford doctor, MD, expert, I had other qualifications as well. In an interview at Prager University, you can look it up on my community page on their health in the month of April 2024. And yeah, it was disturbing. I think it was like an hour and a half, 2 hour interview. Pretty long interview. It was a good interview though. Lots of deep inside information that you should have been hearing about at the time, but nobody was. So you can't trust anybody anymore. And I've dealt with that in my own experience with authorities in the medical field and insurance companies and different businesses. I'm dealing with a scam situation right now. I ordered an electric generator, and I can't get a hold of them for the life. I keep calling and calling and calling. They keep putting me on hold. I've sent an email. They took my money. They took my money for the generator, but I can't get a hold of anybody, and I have no generator. And it's been getting close to a month. It's been 3 weeks, but I should be able to talk to somebody. There's not even an answering machine. There's no, a lot of times you can talk to some sort of AI automated system or something. No, you have 3 options to be put on hold, and the first available person will get to you. When they get to you, they never get to you, and eventually after about 30 minutes they kick you off. Not the first time I've had situations like this happen. And you deal with it in all kinds of businesses. It's not just that. So, all of them. I had a horrible time with Facebook. I kept getting hacked and I couldn't get my email, or I couldn't get my account back. People would steal my account, and every time I'd get my account, they'd steal it back again. And I kept getting on Rumble, I kept getting stuff deleted, and I would try to get a hold of somebody to talk to them about a tech support. They would email me in a chat, but I didn't know who I was talking to, and the information they gave me never worked. It was bogus information. So every time I tried to do it, it didn't work, and my videos kept getting deleted. Same thing happened with Facebook. I kept getting flagged, and when I would come, they'd flag me for disinformation. So I do the research, I come back and present the actual research to discredit the disinformation label, and it would all be buried. Yeah, and I couldn't talk to anybody about it. So I'm dealing with it with my doctors. I've talked about that on here. I've gone to my doctors trying to get them to look at why they put me on testosterone. Why am I on testosterone, and why do I still have the same symptoms that I've had for like 30 years now, that they have misdiagnosed or can't find a cure for, or they won't even give me basic common sense suggestions. There's 1 or 2 doctors that have given me a few suggestions that didn't work out, but I've been forced to do my own research on all these things, and I've found other doctors, evidently really good doctors, who've given really good advice on things that I can do myself to deal with some of these symptoms, and it definitely helps. Has it fixed the problem? No, not completely. Do I know what it is? No. But their advice is generally helpful. Usually it's dietary advice or fasting advice. It's basically all. The only cure that I've been able to, or useful thing that I've been able to find, is simply not to eat very often. And when I do eat, try to be very careful about what I eat. And sometimes the stuff that I've eaten all the time has never bothered me. I eat it, all of a sudden, boom, I have something happen. It blows up in my gut. And then, I'll get, whoa, I better not eat that anymore. And then I get to thinking, I've ate that for a long time and it never was a problem. So why is it a problem now? Can't figure it out. So I'll go back and try it again later. Sure enough, I go back and try it again later, no problem. I ate it, no big deal. But for some reason, and it's multiple different things, it's not any particular one food. Now, there are some foods that consistently agitate me, and I quit those. But just out of the blue, haven't figured it out, every once in a while it just blows up, and my blood pressure and heart rate goes nuts, and I don't know why. Not a clue. So it's frustrating. Go to the doctor, you expect at least they'll refer you to a specialist, or They'll do follow-up. Okay, well, that didn't work. So what else can we look at? Ask you some questions about your lifestyle. What are you doing? What are you eating? How are you living your daily life? What was leading up to the episode that you had? Are you keeping a journal? Can I look and see where you're, what you're documenting on the pattern of? Maybe I'll notice something in there that you're not noticing because of my expertise. I may see something that you're doing that may, trigger an idea. Okay, well, that could be a problem. That could be the problem. None of that. And when I do, I've done this on my own. When I do present that sort of thing to them and I give them a journal or I show them research that I've done on my own that's helping, but I still haven't quite figured it out, they're totally not interested. They look at my blood work. It's within normal ranges or close. Yeah, you're fine. Be happy. Keep taking your meds. Do what you're doing. Carry on. Now, how many doctors can you go to before you just throw your hands up? Because you keep moving around to different doctors, and after a while, well, they think you're a drug seeker. They think you got some sort of mental issue. You're obsessed. You've got, what do they call it, Munchausen syndrome, where you're a hypochondriac, whatever. There's no question that I have chronic stress in my life, as all the things that I've done, everywhere that I've moved. I moved 25 times in 25 years at one point in my life. And I've traveled all over the world, and I've done all kinds of jobs and careers and gotten school certifications. And I used to be a thrill seeker. I used to do things that were exciting and dangerous. And I've been in some tumultuous relationships and have done really stupid things along those lines and created a lot of stress for myself. No question that stress could absolutely be a big factor in this. And then on top of that, the medications I was prescribed irresponsibly without limitations that definitely screwed up my gut. And that could be why they're not telling me. And maybe they know and they just won't tell me. So, I don't know. But I do know that there's tons of evidence that we can't trust our authorities anymore. There's a great deal of integrity lacking, and a lot of deception, and a lot of corruption. And we have to rely on God, just like the Bible verses I was reading tonight. Because the authorities think that they're getting away with stuff and stealing everybody's wealth and their inheritance and their children's future. They don't believe in God, but God sees, and it's going to come around. And just like happened in the Old Testament with all these names that I listed of these people that went through the similar things, and they were the remnant, they had to go through those times with the people who were destroyed. And they suffered, and they died. But they were prophets, they were saints, they were the chosen from God, by God, to be saved. So, we find ourselves, history repeating itself. So, I rambled horribly. I'm sorry, it's 23 minutes plus. Bottom line, take everything with a grain of salt and be very careful of who you listen to and why you're listening to them. And listen responsibly and pray for me, a sinner. I'm no better than anybody else. God bless. Over now.